Okay, let's get right into it. There's been this huge, really dramatic shift in Nicki Minaj's public persona, and we're going to unpack the theories trying to explain what is really going on. I mean, for years, she's been an absolute titan in the music world, but all of a sudden, it seems like even her most loyal fans are jumping ship.
And this quote you're seeing, this isn't just some one-off comment on the internet. This feeling is being echoed by thousands and thousands of people online. Her longtime fans, the Barbs, they feel completely alienated by what she's been doing lately, and a lot of them are saying they just can't separate the art from the artist anymore.
Right, so that's the big question, isn't it? To really understand this backlash, we first have to look at the sheer scale of what happened. I'm talking about how fast her massive digital empire started to just crumble.
So, at her peak, which was literally just a few weeks ago, Minaj had this unbelievable social media empire. We're talking about a staggering 227 million followers on Instagram alone. She was, no question, one of the most followed people on the entire planet. But then, in just a matter of days, that number took a nosedive. Social media trackers saw a loss of 4 million followers on Instagram, and some reports even claimed the total loss was closer to 10 million across all her platforms. It was a massive and immediate exodus.
And what happened next? Well, in response to this huge unfollowing campaign, her entire Instagram profile was just gone, deactivated. This is actually a pretty common strategy to stop the bleeding. If people can't find your page, they can't unfollow you. It's a way to buy some time and hope the controversy dies down.
So the crucial thing to understand is what caused this super sudden and dramatic pivot. This backlash didn't just come out of nowhere. It was triggered by a couple of very specific, and for a lot of people, very, very shocking public appearances.
To really get the shock of what happened next, you have to know the history here. For years, conservative commentators like Kirk, who you see quoted right here, were some of her biggest critics. They were openly questioning her influence and whether she was a good role model.
So you can probably imagine the absolute shock when she popped up on stage right alongside Kirk at one of his events. During their chat, she even called the vice president an assassin. This sudden alignment with people who used to attack her, plus the kind of language she was using, that was the tipping point for so many of her fans.
And this leads us to the first major theory trying to make sense of her actions, that this whole political pivot isn't random at all. It might actually be a very strategic play to get presidential pardons from members of her family.
You see both her husband, Kenneth Petty, and her brother, Jelani Maraj, are convicted criminals. So the theory goes that she's cozying up to one political party, hoping that they can help secure their freedom. But, and this is important, the details here really, really matter.
And this little chart illustrates the legal reality perfectly. A U.S. president can only pardon federal crimes, okay? So that means a pardon could, in theory, apply to her husband's federal charge for failing to register. But her brother's conviction, that's a state issue in New York, which is totally outside the scope of any presidential power.
All right, so let's move on to theory number 2, which suggests this isn't about family at all, but it's all about financial desperation. There's this idea that when a celebrity gets into financial trouble, they turn to what some people call the right-wing grift for a quick payday. The main piece of evidence for this theory? It all centers on this one number, $500,000. See, a judge in California recently hit Minaj and her husband with a default judgment for $500,000. It all stems from a lawsuit filed by a security guard who says they assaulted him back in 2019.
So let's just walk through this. It's like a domino effect. The guard gets assaulted, he files a lawsuit, but then Nicki and her husband just don't respond to it. So the judge enters the judgment. And now the guard's lawyers are trying to force the sale of her $20 million mansion to get that money. That could definitely explain a sudden need for a brand new, very lucrative income stream.
Finally, let's look at the third theory. This one suggests it might be about something even more basic than money or family. It might be about her own legal status here in the United States.
And this one? Well, this one came from Nicki herself. In a recent live stream, she just dropped this absolute bombshell. Even though she's been a massive cultural icon in the US for more than a decade and has paid millions in taxes, she is not an American citizen.
And this timeline really puts it into perspective. She came to the U.S. from Trinidad and Tobago when she was just 5 years old. Right now she has a green card or a work visa, but after living here for over 36 years, she still hasn't secured citizenship. So some people are speculating she might be aligning with a political power that she thinks could speed up that process for her.
So there you have it. We're left with 3 very different, but all pretty compelling theories to explain this whole controversial shift.
and each one points to a really different, high-stakes reason for it all.
Looking at them all side by side like this, you've got the pardon play, which is all about family. You have the money problem, driven by pure financial survival. And then there's the citizenship angle, which is about her own national identity and security. And what's wild is that each theory is backed by some pretty convincing, publicly available evidence.
So in the end, all the evidence is out there on the table, and it leaves us all wondering, which pressure point is the real one? Or maybe it's some combination of all of them. Is it about pardons, a payday, or her papers? For now, the real driving force behind one of the most confusing celebrity pivots we've seen in a long time is still a mystery.